Today I'm going to build the most broken S-Class hero in One Punch Man, and we're going to do it using abilities and attributes only found within the S-Class. With a pool of abilities including city-wrecking Esper powers and moving at subsonic speeds to pick from, it goes without saying that we're not only going to create one of the strongest heroes in the series, they might be one of the strongest in anime period. Well, before I hype this video up a little too much, let's get started. So I've seen a lot of videos doing this very thing with various other anime, so you might already know the rules of all this, but just in case you don't, to build the strongest S-Class hero in One Punch Man, we'll be going through a list of categories, in this case 9, that will define the characteristics of our fictitious hero. The 9 categories include body, which quite literally means whose body they will have, followed by speed, strength, stamina, intelligence, combat skills, a passive ability, and a special 1 and special 2. Those last 3 categories are derivatives of a lot of video games that I like to play. Maybe some of you have played the same kind of games, but if not, the passive ability means that it's the overall ability the hero will have. It's their base ability, something that's going to boost the other abilities we're going to be stacking on top of it, which is why it's 100% my favorite category, because it makes the hero we're about to build so insanely broken. You don't got to take my word for it, you'll see in a minute. Also, the special 1 and special 2 are simply slots for signature moves. Pretty self-explanatory. Also, the main rule here is that I can only use each hero once. This means that out of the 9 categories we'll be addressing, only one S-Class hero can be used per slot. So for example, if I wanted to use Pig God's strength for whatever reason, I can't use his crazy digestive abilities in the passive slot. Got it? Does that make sense? Alright, well let's get started with body. Now for the body, I wanted to go for straight up durability, because I think it'll combo really well with the other abilities we'll be picking in a bit. With this in mind, we want to look at characters like the aforementioned Pig God, with his ability to absorb all sorts of damage and recover very quickly. Remember that in his quick fight with the monster Eyesight, we found out he's also immune to poisons. That would be a pretty solid bonus. We could also go with an obvious choice like Super Alloy Darkshine. I mean, we've seen him get hit with powerful demon level monsters and entire freaking buildings with almost nothing seeming to faze him. We could, however, point to his weakness to corrosive attacks, which we saw during the Monster Association arc, but with the passive ability we'll be having, that weakness can be easily covered up. All that being said though, the hero I wanted to go with for body is none other than Puri Puri Prisoner. Now as soon as I said that, I know some of you were like, what the fuck? But just trust me, I am going somewhere with this and it'll all make sense in a bit. You'll realize that this was the only choice. Well, alright, maybe not the only one, but a pretty damn good one. Anyway. Now, based on what we know about Puri's body, pause. He seems to be relatively durable overall. He can take damage from dragon level monsters like Neon and still bounce back. But this isn't the reason I picked him, or else I would have gone with a much more durable hero like Darkshine. The reason I picked Puri in particular is because of the unique adaptive body he seems to have. In his encounter with Bakuma, Puri was blasted point blank, pause, by a massive energy blast. We then see that he somehow absorbed the kinetic energy from the attack and was able to redirect it, calling it his Vibrating Angel style. We also saw, in the previously mentioned encounter with Neon, his slash wounds healed instantly, and he developed a type of retractable body hair armor, calling it his Bristle armor. It seems pretty clear that with every fight, Puri's anatomy allows his body to adapt and create new abilities based on his opponent. The only issue we have with using his body is that in its base form, it isn't especially durable. But you'll see that by the end, we'll be able to deal with this weakness pretty easily. Okay, so we have Puri Puri Prisoner's body. Now we move on to speed. Now there are 2 very obvious choices for speed that I'm sure all of you thought of as soon as I mentioned it as a category. This would be Blast and Flashy Flash. We got to see Flashy's top speed during the Monster Association arc, having a full-scale battle with 2 dragon level monsters within the time it took for a bridge to collapse. We also saw that Blast was even faster than this by dodging a kick from Flashy Flash easily. Both of these guys have subsonic speed at the very least. That being said though, I need both of these heroes for other categories where I think their abilities make a way bigger impact. With that being said, my choice here is actually Watchdog Man. Now there's not much we know about Watchdog Man and his abilities quite yet, but one thing we do know for sure is that he's fast as hell. We saw when Garo tried getting the jump on him in Season 2, he easily took out a horde of monsters and then dealt with him in seconds. It was also revealed in a bonus chapter that he could at least hit speeds of 155 miles per hour. and likely higher if he's going all out. He can apparently deal with monster situations hours away from him, before the local police can even arrive on the scene. With base speed like this, our hero, which I just now decided is going to be named Lenny, is a great starting point. As we go on, you're also going to see how these abilities start to complement each other, but for now, we have Puri's adaptive body and Watchdog Man's speed. Let's move on to strength. So for this one I was torn between two heroes in particular. This would be Tank Top Master and Super Alloy Darkshine. Now the reason I narrowed it down to these two is because they've showcased some of the more impressive feats of pure physical strength thus far. For example, we saw Tank Top throw massive boulders large distances and even entire buildings when boosted by Fubuki, which is actually an important detail I want all of you to remember for later. Just keep it in your back pocket. But anyway, I decided to go with Super Alloy Darkshine for strength because I feel like he's shown even more impressive strength feats, like squatting in a 15G gravity chamber with a full rack of weights, and also blasting away an extremely durable demon level monster in Bug God with a single punch. His tackle was also powerful enough to shatter every bone in Garo's torso, and send him flying through many concrete walls in the Monster Association. Overall, I think Darkshine's striking power, or striking strength, is superior to Tank Top's, and this is more important to our particular build above overall strength. Alright, so now we move on to stamina, and this is where these abilities start meshing together nicely. Like with strength, I mostly had a tough choice between two heroes. This time it's Zombie Man and Metal Bat. Now this one's a little tricky because both of these heroes' impressive stamina is directly linked to their abilities, and you could argue that using them for stamina would also mean that you would have to take up a passive ability slot to use up Zombie Man's regeneration or Metal Bat's fighting spirit, which would be against the rules because we can only use one hero, right? I mean, just think. Zombie Man's regeneration is the reason why he can outlast most opponents, is due to his fighting spirit that makes him stronger and stronger as the fight goes on. Well, you know what, this is my video, okay? So we're gonna fudge the rules a bit on this one. I'm gonna pick Metal Bat for stamina, because his longevity in battle isn't as dependent on his ability as Zombie Man's stamina is. Also, you could argue that his fighting spirit is a direct result of his stamina, so it's not technically cheating. But if you guys are still doubting me, why don't we ask Metal Bat himself? And we'll be doing it by using today's sponsor, Poly AI. This app has over 1 million downloads and lets you have conversations with any anime character you can imagine, including our aforementioned S-Class hero. Alright, so we found Metal Bat here. You can also listen to their voice too, which is pretty cool. Here's what Metal Bat has to say.
When the spirit of fight awakens, the son cries and the mother does not see.
Alright, I have no clue what the hell that even means. But anyway, let's ask our question here. Does your fighting spirit come from your stamina, or is it its own special ability?
It's all about my own strength, man. I don't need some fancy power-up or stamina to fight. It's just me and my bat against the world.
Okay, that doesn't really answer the question though.
Fine. If you really want to know, my fighting spirit is all about willpower. I have a hell of a lot of it, and that's what allows me to keep going in tough situations. Got it?
Alright, cool. Well, there you have it. I'm not cheating, so get over it. The man told you himself. But if you want to ask him yourself or chat with any other hero in the S-Class, then simply click my link in the description below to gain access to any fictional or non-fictional character you can possibly think of. You can even listen to each of their unique voices like you saw with Metal Bat. You can ask Saitama what the deal of the day is, ask Watchdog Man what's under the costume, and you could even practice your Riz skills on Tatsumaki. You know, educational stuff. What's even better is that you can use my code ANIME88 to get access to premium features on the app you normally wouldn't have. So make sure to check out Poly AI today and use my link to help support the channel. But anyway, the cool thing is here that pairing Puri Puri Prisoner's adaptive body with Metal Bat's fighting spirit, we have a hero that grows stronger with the more damage that he takes and has a body that can recover from that damage, while also being able to create new abilities from receiving said damage. If an opponent can't take our boy Lenny out with a single decisive strike, which would be a hard hit to land in the first place because he has Watchdog Man's speed, they'll likely be overwhelmed by his increase in strength and new abilities eventually. Alright, so far we have Puri Puri Prisoner's mutant body, Watchdog Man's speed, Super Alloy Darkshine's strength, and Metal Bat's stamina, which includes the buff of his fighting spirit. Physically, S-Class hero Lenny is shaping up to be quite a force, but all these physical gifts won't mean much if our hero isn't good at strategizing and outsmarting the opponent. This is where intelligence comes into play. Now I think there's 4 possible candidates for this one. First we have the Scientists, Metal Knight, and Child Emperor. Metal Knight's intelligence is mostly implied through his various technologies since he hasn't been involved in many conflicts quite yet, but I mean he is likely very smart. This is actually where Child Emperor would have him beat, because we actually got to see his tactical mind in action, this being during the Monster Association arc. Here we saw him plan out the entire raid operation, which had its hiccups but ultimately worked out. Also, he managed to think his way into a win against Phoenix Man, who was essentially immortal. However, I think when it comes to intelligence on the battlefield, an analytical, pragmatic point of view is most important. As we saw with Child Emperor, his age and experience and emotions got the better of him at times. This means that the likes of Genos or Drive Knight would be better suited for this slot. They have cybernetic analytical minds and are able to dissect information without involving emotions. Out of these two, I'd honestly side with Drive Knight, considering he's implied to be more experienced and has been shown to not engage in conflicts unless he's done thorough research on his opponent and developed a winning strategy. A good example is his fight with Neon, where he observed him beating up on the support team to develop a strategy. Genos, on the other hand, would have jumped in headlong like he does with every fight. Although Drive Knight's way of strategizing might not be very heroic, he's proven that he has a more level-headed approach to battle, so Drive Knight slots in nicely for intelligence. I have no doubt that he would utilize the abilities we've stacked so far to their fullest potential. Alright, so now Lenny has the body, the speed, the strength, and the stamina to do some serious damage on monsters. But what good is all of this if my man can't throw hands? This is where combat ability comes into play. In this case, I consider this category to represent the hero's hand-to-hand combat skills. There was one choice that was pretty obvious to me, and that's Silver Fang aka Bang. Maybe we could have gone with Atomic Samurai for his elite swordsmanship, but I feel like with the abilities we have stacked so far, and the ones we'll be adding in a bit, hand-to-hand fighting was more important to me, and Bang is unmatched in that area. The really cool part is that using Bang for this one means that it also comes with his Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist technique, and the best part is it's technically not cheesing the system like I did with Metal Bat's Fighting Spirit, because if you think about it, part of building combat skills is learning ways to fight efficiently, right? And Bang has definitely perfected the art of efficiency in fighting with the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist. This technique allows the user to divert any incoming damage back onto their opponent. He created it as a defensive technique for weaker fighters to be able to defend themselves against strong opponents. Since it's using their own strength against them, this would allow Lenny to take on opponents several times stronger than him, due to his ability to redirect any monster's incoming strikes. Of course, with dragon level opponents, it'll be hard to deflect every attack, but that's where the rest of our abilities come in. If Lenny gets into a fight with some kind of super powerful dragon level monster, he'll be able to use the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist. He'll be able to keep the monster at bay for a bit, while he uses Drive Knight's intellect to detect weaknesses and build a strategy for taking the monster out mid-fight. Even if he does end up taking some hits from the monster, he'll have Puri's adaptive body in combination with Metal Bat's stamina and fighting spirit. This will allow him to become stronger and develop a new ability that can help him build his strategy. This stacking strength is already on top of the insane striking power of Darkshine. Needless to say, the monster will be overwhelmed eventually. This ideal scenario sounds really great and all, but we know that in One Punch Man, monsters even above Dragon can pop up here and there. And although Lenny is pretty durable and strong at this point, one supercharged attack from an especially powerful monster might straight up fry him before he can really get going. With this build, our hero doesn't really shine until he builds up some steam. Fear not though, because our passive ability and special attacks will definitely clear up this problem. For starters, when thinking of a good passive ability, I considered a few that would actually work pretty well with Lenny. The first was kind of a gag pick, I'm not gonna lie. It was King's Aura. I mean, if we had the King engine, then we wouldn't even need any of these other abilities that we're stacking here. Hearsay would be our strongest weapon in this case. So picking that would be too easy and not very fun. So with that being said, my next consideration was Zombie Man's regeneration. With Lenny's fighting spirit and Puri Puri Prisoner's constantly adapting body, we'd essentially be creating a pseudo Phoenix Man if you think about it. Someone that could essentially die and be reborn stronger over and over again, as long as they're not like completely vaporized or something. But that's where the problem lies. Although this would be a pretty awesome combination, it doesn't solve the main problem we addressed a second ago, that being the threat of being one-shotted by a super strong monster before we can get going. I also considered going with Blast Dimensional Powers, but I need him for one of my specials, so he didn't make the cut either. For that reason, I went with a passive ability that many of you might have actually already thought of, and I think has the best symmetry with all of our other abilities. This passive ability will be Tatsumaki's Esper powers. Now, having her raw psychic power on its own is an insanely valuable weapon to have. We saw during the Monster Association arc that she was capable of lifting entire city blocks and forming a massive spear with it. However, also in this arc, we learned some more nuanced benefits of having Esper power. We saw through Fubuki that Espers are also capable of using their power to heal and even boost someone's strength. Some may argue these abilities are specific to only Fubuki, but I think Tatsumaki would be capable of doing this as well. The only reason I think she doesn't use these types of abilities is because she never bothered to learn how. I mean, why would she? She's always been way stronger than most anyway. But using Drive Knight's intelligence, Lenny can harness Tatsumaki's power in no time, and gain the ability to not only heal himself and others, he'll also be able to boost his own strength and speed dramatically. You gotta remember that a boost from Fubuki was enough for Tank Top Master to throw an entire building and an electrical tower. Now imagine having Super Alloy Darkshine strength and then boosting it with the bottomless pool of Esper power that Tatsumaki has. Enhancing his muscle strength also means he can enhance his speed, likely allowing him to surpass even Flashy Flash levels. Also, we can use the Esper power to reinforce his body, making it even tougher to do any significant damage, regardless of whether he has momentum going yet. Also, and this might be a stretch, I'll admit, it's possible Esper power can also enhance someone's brain capacity, so Drive Knight's intellect could be boosted to straight up Aizen levels. I don't think we've seen anything like this happen in the manga though, so take that with a grain of salt. The point is, Tatsumaki's Esper power would act as an overall boost to all the abilities we laid out previously, making them even stronger than they would ever be with their original owners. Oh, and Esper powers lets you fly, so that's a pretty nice bonus. Well, now that our hero Lenny is an absolute tank, there's one more issue to address. What if there's a situation where a monster is about to potentially cause way too much damage and casualties for you to take your time building a strategy and getting stronger to finish him off? Think of the giant meteor, for example, from season 1. Lenny would have no chance or time to do much. This is where the special attacks come in. The two specials I've picked out here work together insanely well for this kind of scenario. The special one is gonna be Flashy Flash's killer forbidden move, the Flash Fist. And the special 2 is gonna be Blast's move, the Gravity Knuckle. On their own, both of these attacks are insanely powerful. The Flash Fist lets the user deliver a lightning quick punch that's nearly impossible to avoid. The only minor issue with it is that it likely relies on the user's own physical strength to dictate how much damage it actually does. This is where the Gravity Knuckle comes in. There isn't a ton we know about the Gravity Knuckle quite yet, but if potentially god level threats like Cosmic Fear Garo and Empty Void have their own trouble tanking the blow, then I'm sure it packs quite a punch. It's possible that the punch contains an incredible amount of gravitational pressure, likely giving the punch a massive amount of force that isn't possible purely through physical means. Coupling that with the Flash Fist, Lenny can now throw a nearly unavoidable punch that packs the force of a freaking black hole, considering the gravitational pressure the punch builds, along with gaining force as it travels at the speed of light from the Flash Fist. I don't know if that makes any sense scientifically, but it sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? So there you have it. Our hero Dennis, oh yeah, his name's Dennis now. I like Dennis better. Our hero Dennis is now the strongest S-Class hero in the series, and likely in the upper echelon of anime fighters in general. The overall build for this hero prioritizes close quarters combat, being able to use Bang's fighting style to deflect incoming attacks while using Drive Knight's intelligence to build up a strategy. Once he finds a weakness in his opponent, he can start putting the pressure on them. Having analyzed his opponent's top-end strength and their weaknesses by that point, Lenny can let himself get hit a few times in order to build his strength with Puri Puri Prisoner's ever-evolving body and Metal Bat's fighting spirit. Once he's been juiced up enough by this, he'll combine Super Alloy Darkshine strength, Watchdog Man's speed, and Tatsumaki's Esper boost to deliver a lightning-quick decisive strike with the Flashy Fist that hits with enough gravitational force from the Gravity Knuckle that the monster is instantly deleted. Our hero is versatile, can deal with threats very quickly, and has otherworldly physical traits. I don't know, I don't want to glaze myself here, but I think I did a pretty good job. Let me know what you think though. Let me know what you think about this combination hero we made. Let me know what combinations you would use in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this one actually. That is it for this video though. Have an absolutely wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever, and I'll see you guys in the next video.